question I get asked a lot on my gardening channel is in relation to my videos on taping a tomato stem back together. And so a minute ago, I was trying to push one of these stems that was growing through my fence onto the other side. And what did I hear? Snap. So this guy right here, I quickly supported him with the clip, ran in the house to get my tape. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate the break. I'm going to tape it back together with some kind of soft tape. Masking tape, painter's tape, craft tape. And I'm going to put it on firmly but gently, if that makes sense. So it needs to hold the two pieces together, but it doesn't need to be super duper tight to prevent a little bit of further growth in the future. You don't want it loose, but you don't want it super tight. I'm going to hop over to the other side so I can get a better look and we can tape this. You can clearly see the break. Man, was that a loud snap. It really was. So you can see this is important. There is still a connection between the top of the break and below the break. If this was a complete cut across, complete severance, you would not want to attempt taping the tomato plant back together. If it's still got some connective tissue together, holding it partially together, this will work. I've done it so many times. Every year I'm too aggressive with my plants. I always snap a tomato stem or two or three or four throughout the season. So I'm just going to gently wrap it, and then we're going to support it because we don't want any pressure while it's trying to grow some roots. It will actually grow roots. Now you can see very closely now that there are still some parts of the plant that have a connection. Over on this side, a little bit on this side. So I've got the tape kind of pressed into the back of the stem here, and I'm just gonna try to keep the plant as steady as possible and just tape it up like that. And I'm gonna water this guy really well down at the roots, and then I'm gonna get some better support going here because I don't want this to bend or move. Keep it as still as possible until the roots take hold. I'll check the tape in a couple weeks because personally I don't like blue on my plants. I don't like that color. It's just too much of a contrast there. So I'll get some green painter's tape probably and check this in a couple weeks and rewrap it, and it should do just fine. It is well over a month and a half later. You can see my tomato plants have been through the ringer. It has been a rough summer here. High humidity, lots and lots of rain, lots of disease in my tomato plants. So let's just get started here. You can see that this branch did produce fruits. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the tape. I should add here that my favorite tape to use for taping up tomatoes is not this painter's tape. I prefer the craft tape or paper tape, something that is not quite as sticky as this painter's tape is. You could use some masking tape. Sometimes I do use green masking tape, which I prefer the color green when I'm taping up my tomato plants. So I had a little bit of an issue getting this tape off, but the point of this video is to show you the roots that do develop. You can still see the crack there when I bent it a little bit. The crack was still in place. But what happens is you develop the root system, and it kind of bypasses that crack or that little cut, and it's able to bring the nutrients still up farther into the plant. So that is really the focus here, was to show you the roots that developed and how horrible my plants look about a month and 3 weeks later. They were looking so pretty. And if ever you have a break in a tomato plant that is really low on the plant and you're able to get that plant down at the ground level and then bury the break with soil, that is like the ultimate fix. But usually that's not where our breaks happen. For me, they're always up higher. When I'm tying up, it's usually when I crack or break a stem. So that is when I have to use the tape, and it will patch that area if there's still some connection on both parts of the stem that you broke, enough to grow some roots and to get some of that nutrition and fluid flowing past the break. All right, guys. Well, I'll talk to you soon. I hope this was helpful. See you next time. Bye.